In 2001, my parents decided to take myself and my two sisters on a trip around the world for 8 months straight. They also wrote a book about it, and admittedly, I have never read it. So I wanted to create a video series going chapter by chapter, reading through the entire book, trying to jog my memory, giving you my impressions of what had happened, my perspective on everything, and what I learned throughout the trip. This is A Brilliant Teacher, starting at the Prelude. 18 years ago, I married my best friend. Planning for our lives together, we decided to forego any gifts for each other at birthdays, holidays, and anniversaries in exchange for traveling. I haven't missed the gifts one bit. Instead, I have years of memories from backpacking, bicycling, sleeping in the most unique of settings, and sharing in the kindness of strangers. Working in the educational setting leaves summers available to explore, and it became a lifestyle choice to live very simply in order to support our habit. We love to travel. Oh boy, do they love to travel. This is from my parents' perspective, by the way. I am not talking about me marrying my best friend. Uh, that's another story. As our three children came into the picture, Steve and I, Steve being my dad, Toby being my mother, saved money in an account for something. We didn't really know what that would be, but a few years ago, when we started talking about a trip to experience other countries, the decision became crystal clear. Let's go see the world. We need to save up for the world trip was the mantra for years. It became excellent practice in delaying gratification, something we all find very challenging. After selling anything that wasn't nailed down or already donated, the $15,000 we had saved was not nearly enough for the amount needed to go on this adventure. At first, the estimates for a trip around the world for 5 were in the $20,000 to $30,000 range, but as the details became apparent, we were resigned to the fact that it would cost approximately double our first estimate to be gone for the full 8 months. So as a child, I had no concept of the amount of money that my parents had been spending, or at least saving up for this trip. So that's a shock to me, seeing that it was between $40,000 and $60,000 in 2001 money, which today I'm sure is much, much more. I'll put that on the screen. Thankfully, the timing worked out perfectly for us to rent our home while we were away. Loans would have to cover the rest. $50,000 is 2 new cars, a college education, or a sizable down payment on a house. Could we afford that much money? Of course not. Would it be worth it anyway? Maybe. Fortunately, Steve had the advantage of a sabbatical year at his university, so his partial salary helped to pay the bills as we traveled. A number of stops in our trip revolved around him learning about education in different countries, connecting with colleagues who are working with him on mathematics education issues, and piecing together something of worth. So a lot of the time, we would go to these different areas, these different countries, and my two older sisters and my mother and myself would all kind of visit the city, look around, go to museums, stuff like that, keep ourselves occupied while my dad went to various educational conferences as part of his work. So we would basically kind of go do our own thing during the day, and then we would get together at night, go get dinner, do something interesting. And on the off days that he wasn't going to any of these conventions, we would all be together. He would need to write furiously upon our return. I, on the other hand, would be leaving a part-time counseling position and hoped I would still have a job when I got back. Our three children were about to miss a semester of school. Would that be a problem? Michael, me, was heading to first grade in the fall. Even though there are many important things to learn in that first semester, we reasoned that our trip would balance out what he was missing. I think this is really kind of the core of where my understanding of my experience comes in, where going into first grade was extremely important to me to create a friend group that I would then have going forward in the future to all my other schooling. And at the time, I was extremely angry at my parents that they were taking me away from these formative years where I was learning as a child to create those connections, make those friends. I was part of the in crowd popular group of kids before I left for the trip. And then when I came back, everyone had completely forgotten me, and I felt like an outcast. I felt like I didn't have any friends, and I kind of had to start over from scratch. And thankfully, I genuinely see this as a positive. I think I would have been a completely different person if I had stayed with that group. And the people that I met, because I needed to branch out and make new friends, I have been lifelong friends with ever since, and I love them more than anything in the world. And they are Absolutely the best people I know. So shout out to you guys, Quinn and Chad. Bridget, my sister, second oldest sister. So it goes me, Bridget, Claire. Bridget was a budding poet facing the fifth grade. One of the major accomplishments in her young life was holding numerous jump roping records at her school. She would be disappointed to not be there to defend her titles. Well, that didn't really matter because nobody broke them anyway. We all kind of did jump roping. I set some records. Bridget set a lot more records. And I would be shocked to see if any of those were actually broken today. For Bridget and Claire, Claire the oldest, our oldest, our former experiences teaching English and math would come in handy. Claire's education was probably our greatest challenge as she was prepared to enter her second year of middle school. She was just beginning to establish friendships at school, so the trip would be a social loss for her. It was for all of us. Perhaps email with teachers and friends would be sufficient to fill the void on both fronts. Email was still a pretty budding technology, and traveling the world and continuously having access to the internet was extremely rare. So I understand the thought behind that, but as far as I remember, it did not go that way. Our friends and family had mixed reactions to our plans, ranging from, "Are you crazy?" to, "Would you pack me in your suitcase?" Some were nervous about putting our kids through the ordeal of hostel hopping. Hostels are a cross between college dormitories and hotels, and a lack of routine. Others were impressed that we were willing to pour thousands of dollars into 8 months of an education for our family. Not all of the countries we would be traveling would Not all of the countries we would be traveling to would be the safest of places, so there was certainly trepidation about our choices. On the day before we left, two of the children's uncles managed to slip Claire and Bridget their business cards saying, "Call me from anywhere in the world if something happens." Many recognize that travel without risk is travel without opening yourself to possibilities. The children's reactions regarding our grand plan were varied. In spite of our incessant reassurance of "it will be great," all of them were a bit nervous. I think that kind of undersells it, but we'll get to that later. Claire was probably the most enthusiastic. I don't remember that. I think both of them were pretty pissed off for most of the trip, at least from my perspective. As she had recently studied ancient Egypt, Greek, and the Roman gods in her social studies class, and Spain in her Spanish class. Bridget was excited sometimes and hesitant at others. One of her best qualities is that she is willing to try new things, whether it is food or places, so that would be a bonus. On the other hand, she had enough understanding of the trip to know it would be very different from her day-to-day experience, which made her worry. Michael cried, "I don't want to go," became his hang on. Michael cried, period. "I don't want to go" became his constant refrain whenever the topic came up. He had just developed a friendship with a classmate down the street and they loved playing together. We tried to encourage him with stories of elephant rides, seeing lions and giraffes, and visiting the home of Robin Hood, but he was very skeptical that this trip would provide him with much opportunity to play. Yes and no. It was very good to connect with both of my sisters, as they were the only ones I would be entertained with. But I definitely missed a lot of. I mean, it wasn't even a full year, so I wouldn't say a lot. I missed a decent chunk, but it wasn't like anything crazy. In the end, he wisely chose to bring his baby pillow and his favorite bunny, providing a connection to home and a source of security. Shout out to Bunny. I constantly worried what memories and perspectives each of them would take away from this trip. Kind of funny that's in here because that's what I'm doing right now. When in our wildest dreams did Steve and I think that emptying our savings account, taking out loans, leaving behind our safe routines, friendships, and jobs, and traveling around the world for 8 months would be a sensible thing to do? Was it a stroke of brilliance or insanity? Was it courageous or foolishness to put our family in vulnerable situations? Ultimately, it was, of course, all of that and more. We did not set out to escape the rat race, although it would have been nice to be away from the pace of life and work. We didn't have a specific mission to achieve enlightenment. Perhaps it was the same reason mountain climbers climb mountains, because it's there. The world is a brilliant teacher. Our desire for this trip was to learn from that teacher. We were not without objectives. Society bombards our children with the buy this latest thing mentality. That hasn't changed. A lesson in the value of simplicity was at the top of our list. Years ago, we purchased Material World by Peter Menzel. It is an outstanding piece of photographic work and text. Menzel asked families around the world to put all their possessions in front of their homes so he could take a picture. He also mixed demographic statistics with the family's answers to a few questions, such as, what is your most valuable possession, and how many times has your family been more than 30 miles from home? The book served as one of our main inspirations for wanting to make that journey. I vividly remember this book. It's really interesting. It's basically like, here's a country from Norway, here's a country from Costa Rica, here's a country from Guatemala, here's a country from country or family from a country from Africa. Um, and it was basically just like, here's everything we own. So you'd have like the Americans, here's our car, all of our toys, like all that stuff. And then you would have like a poor country in Africa. It's like, here's our clothes. And that's like pretty much it. So it was definitely at the forefront of my mind that I would be experiencing different types of cultures within this trip. But experiencing them firsthand was another story. Finally, our children are growing up so quickly. Perhaps our most important reason was that we love each other and really wanted to escape routines and spend time as a family. We each packed only a small day pack so we would not have to check luggage and risk their loss. That was a great idea. Can't imagine what it would have been like if we were just like moving around giant suitcases the entire time. Keeping our loads light allowed easy mobility and now a packing list. Our day packs held 3 t-shirts, 2 packed, 1 on, 4 pairs of socks, 3 packed, 1 long sleeve shirt, 1 pair of jeans, 1 Polartec 300 hooded jacket, 1 pair of zip-off shorts jeans, cargo pants or convertibles as they're called, 1 bathing suit, 1 waterproof parka, 1 toothbrush, 1 hand towel, 1 bandana, 1 Sierra cup, 4 pairs of underwear, 3 packed, 1 pair of walking boots, 1 pair of sports sandals, 1 spoon, 1 hat, 1 pair of sunglasses. Shared items: soap, shampoo, toothpaste, brush, hair cutting scissors. This was before 9/11, so you could actually take scissors with you on a plane. First aid kit, Swiss pocket knife, Swiss army knife. We planned to add layers in cold places or visit the local thrift stores if we needed anything else. The kids had a cheap digital camera, and we had a moderately expensive one along with Steve's laptop, which, in spite of the extra 6 pounds, was a useful addition to our possessions and came in handy for downloading pictures, homework, and his own personal work. We also decided to carry sleeping bags to save on lodging where we could. On the 24th of June, with $2,500 in traveler's checks, credit cards, passports, health certificates, shots in our arms, and day packs in hand, we said goodbye to our family and friends and began the adventure. If you're interested to hear more, please let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions or comments. I will read every single one of them. Thank you for joining me on this journey of finding out if the world is a brilliant teacher. You can see the family photo on the front there. Thank you for watching.